Yeah, and I mean, if you want to go to the Washington game next, it might make
How
sense
did you
because
know? How did you know I was going to go there?
oh, lovely, because it was going to my head with what happened last week. Was it the Giants winning or Washington losing? I mean, I think it was a bit of both, honestly. That
Hmm.
the Giants definitely got something going on offense, but it just the Washington was too slow, and obviously after Kyle Allen, which I presume is going to be your jumping off point to preview the
Yeah.
Washington Detroit game.
That's where I was going to lead into because both of these teams suffered, issues at quarterback last week in terms of injuries, but specifically towards Washington was more severe as Kyle Allen suffered. It feels like for the billionth time this season where we had to sit through a guy suffering a dislocated ankle on the field, which is it's just oh God, I am so tired of seeing guys break their ankles at this point. It is just ridiculous. And Kyle Allen's done for the year, but thankfully they said it's not as severe as like what Dak Prescott went through in Dallas. So he should hopefully make a full recovery and be back by springtime for Washington. But right now, that means Alex Smith is going to be their starter. And as much as I've liked Alex Smith and as much as we've talked about us pulling for him, that terrifies me because I just don't want to see him get hurt. We've all been in Alex Smith's corner. We just don't want to see him get hurt. Now he did play the majority of the game last week, and I think he did okay considering that was the first full major game he's played in. He threw for what was it, 300 yards, one touchdown. He did throw for 3 picks though, but I'm gonna attribute a lot of that to the rust that he has to knock off. So he's going to be making his first start in a game since he broke his leg in I think it was November of 2017 at this point. So it's been a long
2018,
oh
2018.
2018. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. It's been a long road for Mr. Alex Smith. But the Lions are dealing with quarterback issues as well because Matt Stafford apparently suffered a concussion in the game against the Vikings. He was cleared for return, but he didn't exactly come back in. It's something to keep an eye on this week, especially considering how ferocious that pass rush for Washington has been over the entire course of the season. But I would attribute that more to a long laundry list of issues that's been plaguing the Lions so far. Matt Stafford's been in and out due to COVID, and he hasn't exactly been playing well when he has been in for a variety of reasons. Then you factor in Kenny Galladay, who missed this last week, and there was talk that they could put him on IR. They haven't yet as of this recording, but it just goes to show how injury rattled he's been that they're even discussing putting him on IR at this point. And when he is not on the field for the Lions, they are a vastly inferior team. They're basically crippled without Kenny Galladay, their number one wide receiver on the field. And the Lions as a whole, I found this stat from The Athletic, specifically Greg Auman over at The Athletic. The Lions dropped 7.22% of every 100 pass attempts, Mark, which leads the league. The next closest is Green Bay, and they dropped one about 6.79% out of every 100 passes. So the Lions are literally dropping the season through their hands. They're literally letting it go through their hands. That's the way the season is going for them, and they desperately need a win right now. Because if you remember a couple weeks ago, we were all saying, "Oh, the Lions are kind of frisky. Ooh, what can they do? They're right in the midst of this hunt, and now they've lost two in a row, and they're staring down a barrel of a team that could beat them in Washington. I really think Washington could go into Detroit and win this game. It's just if Detroit is to be taken seriously, and if Matt Patricia is going to keep his job, quite frankly, in Detroit, they need to win this game. And I'm taking the Lions in Detroit to win it. Yeah.
Interesting because I was like clear my throat. I had to take down some notes there. Obviously, when there's a lot to unbox almost going into this game. It
Oh
is
yeah.
super interesting because Alex Smith coming back in. I mean, he was the best quarterback on the roster as far as I was concerned. Ron Rivera was just trying to be too smart about it and play to the future. And I mean, it speaks a lot to Alex Smith and his story that when he comes in the other day and he threw two crucial interceptions, I
Mm-hmm.
know he blamed him for doing it. They were just happy to see him on the field.
Yeah.
He still went 24 to 32, 75% completion rate, that is, for 325 yards. I mean, like the first game when he came in against the Rams, he admitted it was on my mind that I had the leg issue.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now he's saying, okay, I'm able to be comfortable. And yeah, he came in off the bench, so he mightn't have been as prepared to win that game, but he still got them back into it. And that play by Terry McLaurin, well, he did all the work, really, Terry McLaurin, to what was it, a 68-yard touchdown where he caught the ball in double coverage and somehow broke free of them. But like
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Allen can't make that throw is the important thing to know. Like it was just Alex Smith, just he had no right to get it in to Terry McLaurin, but I suppose experienced enough that he was able to. And that's kind of exciting going forward if you're a Washington fan, because you can expect to get a few bigger plays and just a bit of a more competent quarterback. Sure, yeah, he's going to be a bit stiff,
Mm-hmm.
but I just think that it's important to have him in there, and it gives you your best chance of winning that than they've had all year, and especially since we said that the wide receiver core is getting a bit healthier, and hopefully that drop rate does come down.
Yeah,
But
hopefully.
I suppose the underlying story to it all is Ron Rivera hasn't ruled out Dwayne Haskins coming back in. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think it's smart. They're just kind of hoping that Alex Smith can work the magic that he did with Patrick Mahomes. That
Mm-hmm.
learning from Alex Smith. But I mean, I feel like that was probably to do with Patrick Mahomes just being a magician, and maybe Alex Smith gets too much praise for having Patrick Mahomes sit behind him for his rookie year.
Yeah.
And then, like you said about them, has gone down. Yeah, it's worrying. I mean, they brought in Mohamed Sanu this week. They signed him. I think he might have spent. They brought him in last week anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
they went and signed him. So it obviously is a bit worrying for the team. And the word you used was we thought they were a bit frisky, and we certainly did. And it's something that I thought about this week that I know I said to you before. I used to compare the Cardinals and
Yep.
Detroit like hand in hand. I was like, this is what the Cardinals normally are to me. This team that has a bunch of potential, but they're just not reaching it. And watching it now from afar with what's going on in Detroit, like it's heartbreaking. I don't know how Matt Patricia keeps his job at this rate, because like there's too many excuses, drop passes or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
that keep him away from it. That their talent was too good. I mean, Matt Stafford seems to have gone backwards. I mean, yeah, he was ruled out of the game with a concussion the other day, but it's just all over the place. And I think they're just going to have to start again, it seems, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's sad. I want to tell you the stat that I saw earlier this week, and I don't know if you saw this one as well, Mark. But Matt Patricia's Lions over these past 2.5 years, they've only won 2 games in the NFC North. Like, do you know how bad you have to be to do that? Like, realistically, to do that over 2.5 years to only win 2 NFC North games.
I'll give them some credit, because the NFC North, it's never been considered the best division of football, but I'd always have it in the top three. 'Cause, the
Mm,
Vikings always give the Packers a run for their money, and then Chicago Bears I can't explain obviously how they do it, but they seem to stay competitive a lot of the time. I won't blame Detroit for that. It's kind of hard luck, and again, it's exactly what I point to the Cardinals, that the Cardinals and Rams have been the punching bag a lot of the time in the NFC West. So
mm-hmm.
I'll let Detroit away with. Before we move off
Yeah.
that game, I know you came off the top and talked about Kyle Allen's injury,
Mm-hmm.
Hayden, but like, where's the outcry for Kyle Allen? Like, it was wall to wall coverage when Dak Prescott had an ankle injury because
Mm-hmm.
he didn't get paid before it happened. And I mean, like, Kyle Allen now, he was a second stringer that potentially should have really been a third stringer, except for the head coach, Ron Rivera, really liked him. And it's
Mm-hmm.
with so many quarterbacks coming on stream, like you might see Matt Stafford or someone like that traded if the right quarterback falls. I
Ooh,
mean,
ooh.
I
I
don't think
get.
I don't think I'm calling that so much as I've just read unhappy, upset Detroit fans saying we should have offloaded him already.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Kyle Allen may never play another snap because there's just such competition for quarterbacks that if you're this like, he's a fringe guy. I suppose yeah, he would replace a Chase Daniels who
Yeah.
is the Detroit backup. But I kind of felt for Kyle Allen the other day. It's not like he's a cakewalk to ever play another NFL snap.
Hey, as long as Ron Rivera has a job, Kyle Allen will have a job. Guarantee it. So, all right.
Actually, there
So,
you go. What am I saying? Kyle Allen actually will probably stay with Washington till yeah,
yeah.
however
So I
long
feel
it
like
is.
we paid way more attention to this game than most people will the entire weekend. So,
I
Mark.
actually didn't make my pick, yeah. So
Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm actually going with Washington because I just
Really?
think that
Okay.
they got me last week.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a bit screwed when Washington didn't win. That I don't know why I'm going with them, other than in these kind of games in the past I've leaned towards Detroit and I've picked them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going with a different approach because it's the definition of stupidity is to keep doing something and expect it to change. And I know I fell for that too often with Atlanta, that I'm going to jump ship on Detroit this week and I'll go with Washington.
Wow. Okay. All right. I respect it. I respect it. Like I said, Washington could easily win this game. That's the kind of space Detroit is in right now. It's not crazy. And it's not really calling an upset for Mark to come out here and say Washington's going to win. It's totally within the realm of possibility. And we're splitting on this one. I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised myself, especially with how Washington. I'm kind of just going with Alex Smith and the week that he will have now to prepare for the game. I think I'm going with that. And there's just that bit of uncertainty in Detroit right now that it's been panic stations for a while. So
yeah, that's fair.